This is my living room, and this is my current TV console cabinet. It's perfectly fine, but I've been trying to replace all my IKEA furniture with nicer stuff, bit by bit. I call it the de-IKEAification of the apartment. I have no problem with IKEA, and I think that this TV cabinet in particular is pretty good looking, but I want the things of my home to have meaning to me. I want to be able to look at a piece of furniture and think about the neat store that I found it in, or the person who gave it to me, or the craftsman who made it. Like my coffee table, which is made from scavenged plywood scraps by a guy in Tacoma, Washington, who goes by Reply Furniture. Or ideally, I want it to be furniture that I made myself. So I had the idea to make a console cabinet with a built-in TV mount. It has a metal base that extends up the back, and that's where you mount the television. And this seems tidier and more flexible to me than mounting the TV to the wall. And there's no finding studs, and there's no drilling holes in my rented apartment walls. And if I want to move the TV somewhere else, I can just drag that cabinet around. It's not fixed in place like it would be if it was on the wall. This first video is about building the metal frame. In the next video, I will be making the cabinet, and then in the final video, I will build the drawers and the door. I'll assemble everything, and I'll set up in my living room. So this project has welding, woodworking, and even a little bit of 3D printing. And it's solving a unique problem, and I think an interesting way, which means that it's hitting on all the big things I want to be doing with this channel. Hope you enjoy it. Here's a welding tip for you. When welds cool, they shrink. That's why we use little tack welds to hold things in place before we do the full welds, to keep things from shifting around on us as they're cooling and shrinking. But the issue is these inside corners. This is called a fillet weld if I weld here. And those shrink quite a bit in my experience, which will make this corner no longer a right angle. It's usually not a big deal because you're doing a complete square or a rectangle, so all these corners are opposite each other, and so all that tension is balanced and the thing stays square. But in this case, I've got this open-ended thing, and I know from experience that if I weld this, I'll get less than 90 degrees. In fact, if I weld both sides, I'll create a bow here, where this side of the metal will no longer be parallel with that side of the metal. So my solution is to just not weld these inside corners. So I will weld here and in the back, but I won't weld here, and I won't weld here. And that will be plenty strong for this part. So the welding is done. Next up is going to be using the angle grinder to clean up all these welds to make everything nice and smooth. The bottom piece down here and the top piece up there are actually temporary. I'm gonna cut those out right now. They're just there to make sure that the vertical poles that hold the television in place are parallel and the right distance apart. The other thing I need to do before I can paint is drill all the holes, which I meant to do before I welded the pieces together, but I forgot. So I'll have to drill those by hand instead of with the drill press, but oh well. So the frame is done and ready to be painted. I actually made a video recently about how to paint raw steel, where I painted this frame as an example. And as I'm recording this, I haven't even made that video yet, but as you're watching it, the video is already out, which is kind of trippy, but it means I can do this. I wish it was always that easy. Painting is not my favorite thing to do, honestly. So it's a nice glossy black, although all you're gonna see from the front is the little feet once it's installed in my living room. And I went ahead and installed the television bracket up there. That's just a basic wall mount bracket. I wanted to find one that didn't swivel or tilt or whatever. I could have designed the frame to just bolt directly into the television, but this bracket was only 26 bucks and it saved me a lot of trouble. And it means that if I get a different TV, I can just mount to the same bracket. And I made the poles that you see, the vertical poles, a few inches taller than necessary, so that if I get a bigger television, I can just mount the bracket a little bit higher. So that is the end of the metalworking for this project, and starting next week is the woodworking. So subscribe if you want to follow along. Thanks for watching.